360. Leaders Connect 360 is a CSR initiative by Visa Training and organized by the Mass Leadership. My name is Prakash Sharma, founder director of Visa Training and the author of the book, The Mass Leadership. Leaders Connect 360 is started with a specific objective of inviting 1,000+ leaders and creating 1 million leaders. A hybrid model leadership community where every Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. we learn from the top management leaders on Zoom Live, and once in 3 months we have a networking meet in each city where we do the offline networking meet to network, support, and grow with the leaders. And that's when we call it as Leaders Creating More Leaders. Currently, all are muted, and we will giving you an opportunity to speak to our guest, Mr. Manish Gupta, founder director, Buddhi World. But before that, so let me also share with you that the current live is on LinkedIn, and it's also this episode has been recorded, which is LC085. And for the visitors who are here for the first time, you may also click on the WhatsApp link and a Facebook link, and which is on the chat box, and to get further updates and weekly updates about our Leaders Connect 360. And we request all our members, visitors here to turn on your video so that it will help us to make the episode highly interactive. So, are we all ready to interact with our guest, Mr. Manish Gupta, on the specific topic, which is leadership and EI at workplace? And if all are ready, type in the chat box, yes, and then we go ahead. So let's see, quickly type in the chat box, yes, and then we go ahead in introducing our leader of the week. Great, so thank you very much for people who are typed in yes on the chat box. Great, thank you very much. So we all are ready now. So before we get into it, so let's go ahead directly. Let's understand more about Manish Gupta. But before that, let me welcome Mr. Manish Gupta from my side. Mr. Manish Gupta, welcome to our Leaders Connect forum here. How are you, Mr. Manish?
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you. Pleasure being here.
Great. Thanks very much, Manish, for joining us. It's been really great interacting with you. And there's a good opportunity that we've got to interact with you as well. Wonderful. So Manish, to go more deeper, to introduce Manish to all our members, we have a video which we have created. So Arul, I would request you to play the introduction of Manish as a video. So welcome Manish once again, and all the participants and members and visitors. Right, welcome Mr. Manish and Ms. Bhavini, who was the panel discussion leader. So great, Manish. That's nice that you've been here, and I believe your qualifications and certifications is a never-ending process. The video is continuing with many more. And at the last one, I did see that you have continued or started to get into PGDBM, correct? Recently.
I just come during the pandemic. I completed my PGDM in child rights law. That's because I work on child sex abuse.
Excellent.
So I wanted to be an authority on child rights law. It makes more sense when you're when you're an authority. So it is a habit of people to actually look up to you in a different manner only when they see some degrees attached to your name. And how much of knowledge you have and how much of experience you have doesn't really matter to them. I'm sure you're aware of this as well. So what they want to see is, for example, the next thing they want to see is with whom have you worked with, what are the companies that you worked with. They always try to weigh you in their own terms. And yes, so that's another one very important facet of EI, which is missing in people. People are very judgmental.
True. These two are more deeper. That's when our panel discussion leader, Ms. Bhavini, is there to discuss and we'll take it forward. So members, here is the topic today, which is leadership and EI at workplace, which is very, very necessary today in the respective context, for which I would request Ms. Bhavini Pancholi, who's an ICF certified and ILA certified facilitator and a coach, to be a part of the panel discussion leader. So welcome Ms. Bhavini as a panel discussion leader here with us.
Thank you, Prakash. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Manish. Would you prefer me to call you sir, or your first name would be good?
No, Manish is all right. Either ways, we know each other for quite some time, so it's okay.
Good.
Thank
Great.
you.
So
Thank you,
before that, over to you, Ms. Bhavini, for the key questions. And before I leave it to you, Bhavini, for all the members and visitors here, we have Mr. Manish's LinkedIn ID on the chat box. Please feel free to connect with Mr. Manish on the through LinkedIn. And in case, if you have any questions related to the topic leadership and EI at workplace, please stay tuned until the end, and we all will get an opportunity to ask more open questions to Manish, but after certain initial questions from Ms. Bhavini as a panel discussion leader. So stay tuned, and over to you, Ms. Bhavini, for the very interactive session.
Thank you, Prakash. Thanks a lot. Yes, can we begin the interaction from Manish, if you're okay?
Absolutely right.
Ready?
I think the introduction was done. We can start off.
Yes. If I could begin with this particular thought about the EI body seems to be quite big and quite huge, and in numerous forms, it is very important for people to know more about it. So if you could just give me a highlight about what is EI and why is it important?
See, as far as, to simplify it, I think we're all human beings, and we all live on this planet called Earth, and we are all termed as social animals. So when you are in a society, the first thing you must learn to do is to get along with other people around you. Now, the most important factor here is that everyone around you are different. So much so that even when twins are born in the same house, they are different. Their behaviors are different. Their choices can be different. You have to understand this very, very explicitly. Now, so the first challenge here is, how do I get along with people who are different in every aspect, in sense of dressing, in sense of language, in sense of choices of things, in sense of, behavior. So how do I get along with such people? So that is where the two very important needs come into play. One is the need to understand yourself. When I say yourself, it also includes your emotions, because your emotions regulate your behaviors, or your behaviors are the product of how you emote, right? And secondly, making an attempt to understand the behaviors of other people around you. And to do that, you have to understand their emotions as well. So both of these are extremely important. So this is what is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, in one line, I would say, is that, the ability to understand your own emotions and the ability to understand the emotions of others, and then taking decisions based on both, depending on the circumstances. This is in a very simple way to explain to you what is EI. Many a times people only think about their own emotions. People get emotional. Why is nobody thinking about me? Why is this happening to me? It's always me, me, me. But if you put me, in the side for a few minutes and start thinking about others as well, then only can you learn to become emotionally balanced. Till then, it's not going to happen.
True, absolutely true. So now if I'm keeping myself in a workplace situation or an environment, so obviously there are going to be times where emotions will be challenging at workplaces. So how must one be able to understand that emotion and have a control of the same at a workplace?
One very important thing, a lot of people, let's say a college campus interview, and let's say there are about 100 students with CGPA of 9 or 9 plus, and the cream of the companies are coming and picking them up, right? Now, how many of them are actually going to make it to the next level? How many of them are going to constantly grow? And how many of them are going to become leaders, top level? All that depends on their ability to manage their emotions well. Now, what EI can do for you is EI can not only help you sustain in the organization, it can also help you grow. Now, if you're not able to sustain, if you're not able to grow, somewhere, your skills of EI is missing. And when I say EI, in that tagged along very strongly is also social intelligence. So I would say SEL, your social and emotional learning, is missing. So social and emotional learning is very, very important for you to sustain and grow in any organization. Because all of you, in terms of technical skills, you might all be the same. You will all learn the same thing. Remember, you've studied in the same college. You've had the same you've had the same books to study. You've had the same pattern of question paper. Everything has been the same. So what is going to differentiate you from somebody else? That's where your social and emotional skills come into play. That's going to be the deciding factor as to where you will go, how far you will go, and how successfully you will go, and more importantly, how happily you will go.
So if you can tell me 4 important traits or 4 important things of a leader that I can find as strong emotions in them. So what is your conjecture for that?
Okay, so let me ask you and everyone out there a simple question. If I would ask you to name about 5 top skills or top 5 abilities that you see in a leader, because of which you get awed or you feel happy about, what do you think it can be?
To begin with, if I can give an
everyone to
example,
participate. So yes.
Self-regulation.
Okay.
Can use the chat box as well. All the participants feel free to use the chat box for your answers. That will help for the question which Mr. Manish has asked. Manish, if you could just repeat your question, that will be adding more value.
What would be the top 5 qualities that you would expect in a leader, or that you would want in a leader? Let's say you're employed somewhere, and you want a few things from a leader. You want to see a few things in a leader to make you feel comfortable and to tell yourself, okay, this is a good place for me to work at. Okay, so there's empathy, there's motivation, there's listening skills, there's walk the talk. Okay. Just give me a pen, please. So somebody should walk the talk. Okay. Bhavini, can you just read out the answers that have come in?
Sure. It says empathy, vision, good listener with clarity, motivation, walk the talk, self-regulation, social skills, focus, risk-taking abilities.
Okay. So then again, my answer to all your questions is, out of these, how many are actually academic skills or, your non-EI skills? How many of these are, whatever you've named?
Academic skills, you mean?
Yeah. So how many skills are not something which is connected to EI? So if you ask me, for all the answers that we've got out there, everything is our EI skills.
Correct. True.
Right? So this itself is enough evidence for you to understand why EI is important at the workplace. Why EI is very, very important at the workplace, right? So a leader has to also be caring. That's where empathy comes in. Empathy is a very, very important factor. So let me tell you this. When Google was formed, by these two young guys called Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Okay, when they formed Google, they realized that both of them were quite brash in the way they would answer to their people. So what they did was, they knew that, it's not going to be our cup of tea to be handling everyone, to be patching up the bad work that we've done, to be getting together the people, who probably are angry with us, or in a team, if there's any dispute or disagreement, how to get the people together. So they hired somebody else. They hired Eric Schmidt. They hired Eric Schmidt, and then they made him the CEO of the company. Eric Schmidt had earlier worked with Sun Microsystems and then with NOEL. And then they brought him in and straight away made him the CEO of the company. They said, you handle the operations. In some places, in some meetings where we might be brash and rude with people, if something can go wrong, you can help with the patch of work, because that is not our cup of tea. We have only been intellectually right on the top, but this is a different ball game. So though these guys were intellectually right at the top and they founded Google, they brought somebody else to do the rest of the work, to handle the most important work, which is managing people.
Right. So how can intelligence and EI how can that be developed as a unique intersection in a workplace? Like, for example, a person's come for an interview. So is there any tool which can help me understand, apart from intelligence, how well is this emotional quotient balanced in a workplace? So if there is anything like that, how must a person be able to do it?
Thank you. There are different companies which hire, which actually, put into process different ways of measuring people's skills of EI. For example, there's one person whom I know who has actually worked with us earlier in Chennai. Now we are based in Ahmedabad. So this person was called for an interview at 10:30 on one morning and was asked to wait the entire day. And then, at 1:30 or 2, she very politely went and, told the person at reception, it's 1:32, can I please go for my lunch and come back? And then she came back after her lunch and informed the receptionist that I'm back. And then she waited till 3:30. And at 3:30, she was said, you can go back home and come back tomorrow. Your interview is at 10:30 tomorrow morning. Then when she came back the next day at 10:30, she was called in within 15-20 minutes. And then they told her that we picked you up yesterday itself without actually interviewing you, because you have applied for the post of a trainer, and we were looking at all the candidates in the camera. Most of the candidates got up at least 6 or 7 times and went to the receptionist as to why is it taking so much time? I have a 10:30 appointment, I have 11 o'clock appointment, but you were the only one who went up only once, and that too to inform that you are going for lunch. So a trainer has to have a lot of patience. So this was one way. So there are several ways by which, companies try and test you in terms of your EI skills. Different companies have different ways of doing it based on their needs at the workplace. So they can test you for your patience. They can test you for your pressure, how you handle pressure, how you react to pressure. So there are different ways of doing it, but most of them, they do test you for your EI skills. Today, most of the top companies want to hire people who are calm, who are composed, who can handle pressure, who will not break down easily. These are the people they want.
Right.
So EI is extremely integral.
Great. So if I can say that there are some traits which we definitely look for when we are having interview or when we meeting people, right? So how do I know that the person is carrying such culture fit form of behavioral attitudes, keeping their high EI or high emotions in their mind in any place? How would I judge or come to know about that quotient of the person?
I think one of the easiest way to find out is one of the easiest way, in case you don't know anything much about a person and you want to judge them on their EI capabilities, is just checking them out on their listening skills. Just see how many times they actually interrupt you when you talk. Are they game enough to listen? are they game enough to listen? Somebody who cannot be patient for even 10 minutes or 5 minutes while you are talking and is interrupting you, definitely is short of patience. And listening skill is one of the most important skills ever. It's easily one of the most important skills. It is not mentioned clearly as one of the 5 core skills of EI, but apart from the 5 core skills, which are self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, social skill, and motivation, your listening skills is right there after these 5 skills. It's right there on the top. It's a very, very, very important skill. Whether it's the workplace, whether it is a school, for a teacher, listening skill must be right at the top, because children can come up with multiple number of problems. There can be problems at home. There can be sexual harassment issues. There can be issues of not understanding what's being taught. And if a child wants to communicate and if the teacher doesn't have enough patience and doesn't have the listening skill, Bhavini, you've been a teacher, so I think you'll be able to connect with this quite easily.
Yes.
So, listening skill is key, if you ask me. Apart from that, self-regulation, self-awareness, self-regulation, and empathy. So I would put these 4 skills right at the top. And obviously the ability to motivate. But still, I feel, the ability to motivate in this list, I would put it a little low, because how much ever somebody motivates you, till you do not have the ability to self-motivate, you're not going to get out of your bed and go to work the next day. It's not going to happen.
So, what is the difference between inspiration and motivation? If a leader is supposed to be having that amount to do it in a or in an organization or institute, because there are very high abilities
Right.
and qualities looked for in any workspace. So, if a leader is very high in his emotions, so how do I differentiate that, or how do I come to understand that motivation or inspiration on basis of emotion gains?
You can get motivated by watching a YouTube video. Some people can get motivated by just attending this program for 20-30 minutes. But as the great management guru Zig Ziglar has said, motivation is like taking a bath. It doesn't last.
Okay.
Right? So why do you take a bath every day? Because today you're dirty, tomorrow you need to clean yourself. So again, you take a shower, and then next day, sometimes you take a shower twice a day. So the cleanliness doesn't last. Motivation is like this. For 99.9% of people, motivation doesn't last even 24 hours. What brings you back to work or brings you back on focus to what you want to do in life is the ability to self-motivate. And how do you self-motivate? When you have a strong goal. And how is that goal not going to be broken? That's a secret again, which a lot of people don't know. I'm going to tell you out here. Whenever you are able to, attach your goal to an emotion, most of the people who have attached their goals to an emotion have not failed. I want to do this for my family. My family has been in poverty for so many years. I want to do something for them. I want to get my sister married. I want to do this for a friend of mine. I want to do this so that, I can send 100 children to school, because I know what suffering is. I want to do this because I want to build a small hospital in my village. There's no hospital there. There are no doctors in there. So you connect an emotional, an emotional attachment to your goal, and most of them will not fail.
All right. So this very old saying which says that a character build is a very strong thing in a person. So in a leader, how is this emotional character build should be or should look like?
See, leaders are somebody you always look up to, and I want to, complete the question that you asked me. Difference between a lead and somebody who
Motivation.
motivates and somebody
Yes.
who can be inspiring in nature, right?
Mm.
So somebody, if I am going to a workplace and I see, we have role models in life. We have people who can be inspirational. So a lot of people, the film actors they see on screen are inspirational. They want to be like them. Though sometimes people can go down the wrong line, but then they are inspired by them. So as a leader, do you have the ability to inspire people to look up to you as this is the person I want to be? That is inspirational. But like I told you, motivation can last from a few minutes to a few hours to a few days, or
Right.
probably for life for very, very few people. But inspiring somebody is like, getting them to feel like this is the person I want to be in life. I love the way he talks. I love his clarity of speech. I love the way he respects people. I love the way he cares for people. I love the way he empathizes. Now these are all strong traits of EI. I love the way, he is able to self-regulate his emotions. in spite of so much of pressure and probably 20 people going and hounding his cabin. He didn't lose his cool. There was not one unparliamentary word said, no abusive language. He still treated us well. These are the traits that people look up to. People want to work with such people.
Correct. So according to you, which age of people would be having strong emotions with them?
Okay, so it is said that as you grow older, you become more emotionally intelligent. In other parlance, it is also called as you grow more mature.
Correct.
Right? So maturity is also termed as becoming emotionally intelligent, because there are times when you realize, why should I argue? At 30, you'll probably stop on the road and argue with somebody who's brushed on your vehicle. At 40 or 45, you'll think it's not worth it. Leave it. I'll spoil my day. I'll spoil my mood. I'll spoil someone else's mood. It's not worth it. You're not only maturing, you're actually emotionally becoming more stable, because you realize it's not worth it. You realize the pros, the cons. You're able to self-regulate. This happens as you grow older, or this happens with more and more of experiences. How is it that you see children in villages, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls who are cooking, who are drawing the water, who are taking care of the house, who are taking care of the children? How is it? It is only because of situations, more pressure put quickly on them, they mature faster.
Correct.
They mature much faster. Unlike children in cities who are, living in air conditions and, going out with friends, no pressure, not actually realizing the value of money, not realizing the effort of parents, not realizing sacrifices. So they take a lot of time to mature.
Correct.
This is a classic example that I wanted to share with you.
Right. Can you share one experience of yours which has helped you to boom your thoughts on emotions, emotional intelligence that you're doing? I'm sure you would be very, very interested to do more and more about it. And as for your degrees are saying, you've been wanting to achieve more. So can you tell me one phase or one period of your life which has helped you to change your face and episodes in your work?
Okay, I think about a few years ago, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe. I think I had one of the shortest fuses on earth, and then I realized it's not worth it. And as I got into the subject deeper and deeper and deeper, and I realized it's just not worth it. And self-awareness then teaches you one very important thing: the damages that your not being self-aware, a situation where you're not self-aware, and what anger can do to you, how anger can destroy you, how anger can destroy your relationship, how anger can destroy your health. That's when I started realizing. And I think more and more as I deep dived into EI, I'm extremely calm now. I will not say that I don't get angry at all, but yes, only when it is required. And there's a limit to it, like Aristotle's challenge. Do you remember Aristotle's challenge, Bhavini? Said anyone can get angry. Right, the right time for the right and in the way. This is not easy. This is not easy. So I probably practice that. I know when to get angry, how much to get angry, and even if I do get angry, I ensure that within a couple of minutes, I sober it off using one of the techniques. You either move away from the situation or you put your head into something else. I think it needs to be practiced.
So you really think that practicing social and emotional capabilities in a workplace is very important?
Okay, so related to this is one question which you probably might ask me. So let me answer this even before you ask me. Can AI be learned? Right? Can emotional intelligence be learned as a skill? It can absolutely be learned. If you can learn things which will not actually change your life or you as a person in a big time. For example, you learn coding, you learn accountancy, you learn to be a doctor. You learn all this because you want to make it as a profession, and then you want to grow professionally, you earn money, but how much of it is it actually changing you as a human being? So when you're able to work there, you work to become a doctor, you need what, 20, 22, 23, 25 years. And then again, you study something and study, and doctors are always studying. Now, again, to become a lawyer, you might become a lawyer by the time you're 25, 26, you might complete it. But then unless you don't practice for X amount of time, by the time you're already 35, 36, 38, 40, right? All EI needs is 6 months. And in those 6 months, all the time that you need to devote is probably 20 to 30 minutes a day. That's it. If you can do that, your life will totally change. You will see how your SAR relationships can get better. You will see how you don't go on spoiling further relationships. You'll go and see, you'll find a new calmness. You will be able to make better judgments, better decisions, and most importantly, you will stop judging people, and you'll feel very positive about it.
Great. So this definitely is telling me that we need to enhance a better development around us in our workplace and have a very strong social and emotional capabilities so that I can survive better and longer in a institution or a place or anywhere I go. Maybe even my life.
Imagine you're the HR, you're in the HR department of a company, and HR is a place where everyone goes to when they have issues. Now, let's say 2 people turn up to you with issues, and then one of them is well known to you. The other person is not well known to you, but the person who's well known to you, you have enough evidence to say that that person was wrong. What would you do there? Would you support him because he's your friend and you know him well, even though he's in the wrong? Or would you take a pause and tell yourself, I am now not his friend. I am an HR employee of this company, and I need to deliver justice. I need to stand with what is right and who is right, and not with somebody because I know that person. Their emotions come into play. So how do you handle that? So if you're the HR in a company, several such instances will come up. Then what will you do? Right? There will be instances where you might have to give pink slips to 50, 60, 100 people. And there will be people whom you know very well. What will you do? How do you handle your emotions? So till you don't practice it, one very important thing that EI actually can give you is EI helps you to accept the realities of life. That this is the truth. There's no room for emotions here. This is the truth. I have to accept it. I know he's my friend, but I have to give him the pink slip. I can't help it. I can go out and probably put my shoulder on him and say, I'm so sorry you lost your job. Come, let's have a cup of tea and talk, and let's see how I can help you to get placed elsewhere. But here, when you're on the job, you have to get a hold of your emotions. You cannot sway in either way just because you know somebody well. You can't. Correct. So there are several such instances where you'll be tested. So then what do you do?
Okay. True. So that means that we really need to be very strong with our emotions and we need to really control them. True. Thanks a lot, Manish. It was nice talking to you, getting to know more deeper information and insights on emotions. Thank you much for joining today. And thank you that you had taken your time out to join us today for this evening.
Sorry, Bhavini. Absolute pleasure. EI is never ending. I've been working on it for 11 years, and trust me, I'm still working and studying on EI, and I don't know how much more time it's going to take. I've been trying to complete every single, I'm trying to cover every single facet connected with EI, and we are also getting into some employee research based on EI now. We're working with a team of psychologists, research psychologists, and hopefully in 3 months' time, we'll have a very good measurement standard come out, which we can actually offer to company to measure the EI skills of their employees. So we're working very strongly in it, and we have a target of launching it sometime in April or May, and it will be ready by December end or January first week, and then we'll test it with 3 or 4 or probably 5 corporate companies, or we want to use it testing at least 3,000 employees across the country. in different companies, and then we'll probably launch it. So
That's an
a lot
amazing
of work
step.
is going into it.
That's an amazing and a beautiful step taken, Manish. Good luck and thank you for this evening. I will now hand over the event to Mr. Prakash.
Yeah. Any questions, please?
Sorry.
Would you like me to answer any questions from any of the
Yes,
participants, or is it time up?
that's coming up. That's coming. I think Prakash is going to
Thank
introduce
you.
that.
Yes, hi, Mr. Manish. I guess Mr. Prakash got disconnected due to some internet connection issue. He'll be joining soon. Meanwhile, thank you, Mr. Manish, for sharing so much inputs about leadership and emotional intelligence in workplace. Thank you so much for that. So
Thank you,
now
Arun.
it's time. Welcome, sir. Now it's time for a small piece, which is by Mr. Nillai Naigam. Before that, let me share the last week quiz winner, who is Mr. David Selvaraj from Phoenicia Facility Management Service, who got the quiz prize of book Reinvent Yourself from the author Kala Natarajan. So congratulations, David, sir. Thank you for that. And now I request Mr. Nellai Naigam for conducting a small quiz for our members and visitors. So now we can start with the Nellai, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, one and all. Yeah, thanks to Visa Training for this opportunity as a quiz leader. Dear Buddy, sir, really wonderful insights about the leadership and the EA. I'm really impressed about your point of connecting the goal with the emotional attachment and as well as the Aristotle challenge for the angry management. Anyway, I think the last week quiz winner already shared by Mr. Arun. And so let's see who is the lucky winner of this week's quiz. And so fastest fingers first. Let's see who writes the correct answer in the chat box. The question is, what is the most important EA skill of a leader? Wow. Yeah. Congrats, Sengu Paul. And yeah, winner of this week is Sengu Paul. Yeah. Thank you.
Congrats, Mr. Singhu Paul, for winning the quiz competition today. Good that you will be getting a 360-degree assessment by the mass leadership, which will share you the link and also the credentials for the 360-degree assessment tool. Congratulations, Mr. Singhu Paul. We'll share that soon to you. And now it's time for an open question to Mr. Manish Gupta. Open question which you can type through chat box, and also you can ask. You can also raise your hands so that we can unmute you. It's an open question time for all the members and visitors. Thank you, Mr. Nallai, for conducting a small quiz.
Thank you, Mr. Nellai.
Okay, if I can ask one more question to you, Manish.
Yes, please.
For the present generation that we are in, you can see that we're the Gen Zs or the Gen X, what they call us. So we moved from Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y, and all of that. So in the present situation, we see that we are having more of inspirational people than, motivational people. They get inspired. Expressions lost in the present generation. So how does that be sustained and cultivated in a workplace environment? Because we have a culture of all mixed age groups and people with different walks and talks of life come over there. So how can that be developed in the present for the present generation emotionally in a workplace?
Actually, I didn't exactly understand it. So let me try and ask you if I've understood right. Are you trying to tell me that there are a lot of people out there who are, giving out motivational talks, etc.? Is that what you're trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell me?
Motivational talks. No, I'm
Okay.
talking about in the present situation. I mean, we are in an environment where we are having more of impressionistic people than expressionistic people. So the present generation that we're working with, so they are incorporated with all different growth and age of people. They all work under one roof, right? So everybody have with different emotions, everybody have with different understanding experiences. So how must I cultivate a strong emotion base for the present generation people?
First, and only question that we need to ask everyone is, before we try to understand others, how much do we know ourselves? That's the most important thing. If you have about 500 rupees in your pocket, and I tell you, please give me 1,000 rupees, you will not be able to give because you have only 500. So the point I'm trying to make is that you have not understood your own emotions. So you can't even attempt to try and understand someone else's emotions. If I don't know my own emotions, I am not in a situation where I will ever be able to understand anyone else's emotions. It's not going to happen. No.
Okay.
I first have to understand myself. Why do I get angry? Why do I get irritated? What are the causes? What are the triggers? How do I behave? How does my behavior affect others? How does my behavior affect my own self? Does it motivate me? Does it demotivate me? Does it depress me? Does it put me off from work for some time? Does it end up in rude behavior? So I first need to understand my behavior. For that, I need to deep dive into my own emotions, find out the causes that triggers those emotions, and then write down very clearly how my behavior affects others, how it's affecting my relationship with others, whether personally or at work. You
Correct.
need to do all that. Till you don't get answers to all that, and till you are not able to get into self-regulation mode, there is no way that you will be in a position to understand anyone else's emotions. It's not going to happen. So two things I would ask people to cultivate. One is strongly self-awareness, and secondly, empathy, right? And the easiest way for you to cultivate your empathy, forget everything else. Easiest way is in a day, at the end of the day, ask yourself, how many times in a day did I use please, sorry, and thank you? I was at a hospital 4 days ago, and I sat on a chair where the chair almost, where I almost fell down because the chair was broken. And I went to the manager's room, the operations head there, and I complained to him. He was nice, he was kind enough, but he said, "Sir, sit down." And then he asked me, "What do you do?" I told him what I do. Then I told him one small tip. Hereafter, don't tell people sit down. Tell them, please sit down. There's a big difference in sit down and please sit down. There's a big difference. And he stood up, he shook hands, he said, "Wow, nobody's ever told me this before. So thank you so much, sir." So, little things. Start using please, sorry, and thank you on a daily basis, whether it is the guard of the place where you're working, whether it is your ayah, whoever it is. You must be able to say please, sorry, and thank you. Very, very, very important. So start doing this on a daily basis. You will improve on your empathy, right? And then when your empathy skills improve, automatically your self-awareness will start improving.
Right. True. Right. Thanks, Manish. Thanks a lot.
Most welcome, please.
Very nice. And Mr. Devarayan has raised a hand. Mr. Devarayan, I will unmute you now.
Yeah. Thanks, Arul. Thanks, Arul. And good evening, Manish. Good to hear from you. A lot of things.
Good evening, Mr. Devarayan.
Yeah, it's a great learning in the evening. And I just wanted to ask you, there are so many terms which people are using now is emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, emotional stability, so means based on the emotion, they are using so many terminologies. So I just wanted to understand, is all related or all independent, and how do we handle this?
It's all related, sir. Emotional intelligence is your intelligence on your emotions, and then the measure. How do you measure it? That becomes your quotient. Like you measure the intelligence quotient, so you are measured on your emotional quotient, but it's the same. So all you need to just think about is what is emotional intelligence? How can I learn it? Or if I have it, how can I make it better? That's all. You don't have to be worried about anything else. All you need to, there are, like I said, two things. If you can work on, everything else you will be able to work on. If you can work on your empathy first, then on your self-awareness, your self-regulation mode will automatically start. So work on these two skills, very, very important skills. Empathy, which is feeling for others. If I shout at somebody, I might feel okay, I might just shout because at that moment I want to shout at somebody. But within 30 seconds or 1 minute or 2 minutes, if I can think, okay, I shouted at that person, what must that person be thinking? Even though that person was wrong, I think I shouted a little more. I shouldn't have been rude. This is empathy. Trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes and then understand how the other person is feeling. So once you start practicing empathy and self-awareness a little by little, your self-regulation, that is your ability to get irritated, anger management, ability to say anything to anybody, all that you will be able to control, which is called self-regulation. So just
Yeah.
work on this, sir. That's enough.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Actually, like, maybe the present, I can't say the present generation, maybe the present time, we are in a very faster world with the things on the fingers, mobile,
Exactly.
and all this stuff. So it requires a lot of patience and the practicing the self awareness and all to be a little calm or to be a little slower for where we are running, right? Like, it's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Manish.
Thank you, Mr. Devarayan, for a great question. And thanks, Mr. Manish, for giving us more clarity on what is
Thank you,
leadership
sir.
and also about the emotional intelligence. Now, I request Mr. Rangarajan, one of Mr. Giri Selvarajan has raised hands. Sir, can you have much time to give the clarity? Can I make Mr.
Do you have some time to answer take up the question?
Yes, yes, yes. Perfect.
Fine. Now I give chance to Mr. Giri Selvaraj. Yes, Mr. Giri Selvaraj, you can ask the question.
Thank you, Manish sir, and thank you, Mr. Arul. Actually, today wonderful things. Since I am also corporate trainer, I came there to create an awareness about water management. But today, this emotional intelligence and the empathy, the best version today only I learned. Really very thankful, sir. And one of my questions is, what is the
Can you unmute yourself, sir, Mr. Giri?
Yes.
now I am audible?
Yes.
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 What is the difference between the emotional intelligence and intelligent quotient? Sir, intelligent IQ and
Sir,
EQ.
Sir, what we read in school about subjects, what you learn maths, physics, science, chemistry, then you go on to learn on your engineering, all that improves your cognition levels of certain subjects. Now that is your IQ. But whenever it comes to things like things like working on your anger, on your irritation, on your calmness, trying to make better judgments, all that is your emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence and your IQ both are totally different. EQ and IQ are totally different. So all the books you see behind me here, all this is knowledge that I'm gaining, right? But using this knowledge to put things into practice in your academic skills. If you're an engineer, you would have learned, mechanical engineer, you learn how to run this machine, etc., whatever about machines. That is only, those skills are all IQ skills. But apart from that, how do you manage people around you? If your emotional skills are not good, you will not be able to manage people around you. You will not even be able to get along with people around you. So there's a very, very big difference. Right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can understand. Today I learned the please, sorry, and thank you. It starts from our, we are totally coming out from our egos, sir. I think if you are using these words, almost our egos will be dead.
Mr. Giri, I have a small piece of advice.
Yes,
Practice please, sorry, thank you for 1 week. And then if you can get my number from here, call me and tell me how you're feeling after 1 week.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Please do that. You will realize that you will start thinking more about other people's welfare, well-being, and you'll start thinking about other people's happiness as well.
Sure, sir. Most of the time, my wife will tell that thank you, but I want to tell, but something my ego will stop there, and really first I get rid of from my wife, sir. Thank you.
From today, you should start.
Sure, sir. Thank you for
Thank you, Mr. Giri.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Giri and Mr. Manish. Now I request Mr. Rangarajan for a quick summary about the session.
Yeah, the session was very good. People will think emotional intelligence is something related to anger, how to control the emotion with the others' behavior. But today, after the session, we understand The emotion intelligence is start with ours, it's mine, not from other people's control. So we have to learn how to control our own emotions, how to respond to the outer people. So as sir told, we are all social animal. So don't react, first listen. So usually when I'm earlier thing, the reaction mode will be more. People will start reacting for every situation. So the one thing which I am changing, the sir is also told, we have to start listening. Whatever the situation around, we have to first listen, then react. And main thing, people will tell anger management is main thing. We should not anger, but it was rightly told we should use the anger in the right people with right situation. And emotion intelligence is not handling only with the teamwork or thing. It's handling with every scenario. It should be there. The main key point which is I like is we have to tell please, thank you, and sorry to everything, because if I always do this in my office, if I in my situation, if I rise to scold someone for their mistake, if my voice is raised at the time, I will go to them and ask sorry for my voice, not for your mistake. Okay. So I will do the thing. Even if some people come to my seat, I will ask them first, please sit down, then we will talk. So this improve our relationship between the person. Even he may be a security, he may be a shop floor people, he may be with any designation. If he wants to interact, he has to sit down and he has to be cool. And even if we start do the emotional intelligence, we can understand other people's situation. So it was a good eye opener and a better session to make the emotional. And my thing, if you want to enroll people in us, you can check your app with us for the emotional intelligence. Over to you, Arul.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Rangarajan.
Super cool, Mr. Rangarajan. Thank you so much for a beautiful summary about the session. Please share the points in our WhatsApp group, which will add value. Thank you so much, Mr. Rangarajan. And now it's time for vote of thanks. Let me share the things now. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Manish, for giving us a clear understanding about the leadership and the emotional intelligence in the workspace. Before me sharing about the next week leader, let me quickly share again the purpose of the community. For the visitors who are attending first time, Leaders Connect 360 is a hybrid model leadership community where every week on Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. we invite a top management leader from a reputed corporate company to share the solutions for our real-time leadership challenging either on leading self, leading others, or leading your business, like how you see Mr. Manish Gupta today. This Leaders Connect 360 online leadership community also gives us an opportunity to network with people on the last Wednesday on every month through online, and once in 3 months with the direct networking at each city to network with people with working professionals for personal, professional, or a social needs. That's when we call it as leaders creating more leaders. So if you wish to join our community, please click on the WhatsApp group link, which is on our chat box, and you will be able to join us, receive weekly updates, or call us on the number shared on the WhatsApp, and then we will add you in our community. So now I'm happy to introduce the next week leader. Next week leader is Mr. Ramesh Aluri, Vice President and Business Head from the Adecco Group. Topic on power of people analytics. Zoom link for next week episode will be shared through WhatsApp group and social media platforms shortly. Members who wish to be a panel discussion leader can give your names on the WhatsApp group or kindly interact with me. My name is Arul, strategic partner for the leader for mass leadership. Now it's time for me to play the end video. As with time we are over 7:28 p.m. Now I'll play the end video to end the session now. Thank you, Mr. Manish Gupta, for giving us so much of clarity on the leadership and intelligence, emotional intelligence at workplace. Thank you so much. And thanks, Ms. Bhavini.
Thank you all for your time, and thank you for having me on the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you for joining us. Do you have some more time to look at the last video, or you would want to continue with your work?
No, I'll look at the video. It's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Fine. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now it's time for a small introduction after the session. Mr. Manish, you have time to stay for a small networking event after the session?
What event is this?
A networking event. After completing the episode, we used to have a networking session with the members.
So the new participants introduce themselves to join in the network.